Welcome, Comic Talk NL, episode 162. Is that right, Medar?
Yes, it's true.
And for our normal the listeners, they say, "Hey, why are they talking English?" Well, that's quite understandable because we have a guest, Mr. Ian Richardson.
It's one of those foreign guys, so you have to speak in English.
For all the time, for all the things you love in Holland, why don't you speak Dutch yet?
I know, it's terrible, it's disgusting, and it's a typical British thing that we don't speak enough languages, and I'm personally thoroughly ashamed of myself.
Yeah, not yet.
Yet, I like yet. Yet's good.
Yeah.
And also, we go back quite some years, and you're the only. You're the only one. You're the only one I know who's from abroad. I haven't learned bad language to.
That's because I'm an angel and I don't do things like that.
So humble.
If you're listening to Comic Talk and now regularly, then you heard the name Ian Richardson pop up. He is the one, your claim to fame that almost nobody talks about. Is you are the first one who drew Invincible.
First appearance and stuff while I was doing a book called Noble Causes for Image and stuff. That was instant recognition from Medard. I mean, I'm impressed there.
Do you get any royalties at all from that?
Of course not. It was literally just down to one panel and stuff. I don't know if Jeroen's ever spoken about it before. I genuinely enjoyed it because at the time we didn't know anything about Invincible. But we were doing this, as I say, this book called Noble Causes with Jay Fairbairn.
Yeah.
And Image had decided they wanted to do like this kind of cohesive Marvel DC style superhero universe with kind of what was left after the likes of Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and moved on and so on. And do that as part of that effort, we had this storyline that, for those that don't know, Noble Causes was essentially like a superhero soap opera kind of thing. And there was a storyline that the daughter in the family finds herself pregnant, but she won't tell anybody who the father is. So her older brother goes round threatening literally every superhero in the Image superhero universe, sort of saying, "Are you the father? Are you the father?" So we did this big double-page spread, and it was just kind of to include everybody and show that they were doing crossovers and stuff. And the very first panel is this brother with Invincible up against the wall questioning him. And nobody knew who Invincible was at the time. And I hadn't got a clue. It was like, I don't know, a month and a half or something before the first issue came out. Well, all I was bothered about is I got to draw Savage Dragon, so.
And do you still get a tingle when you see the animation series on Amazon?
I will hold my hand up and say I haven't watched it yet.
Oh.
I've been working my way through the kind of trade paperbacks and reading those, because I wasn't a regular reader at the time. It was literally, we got some sample images of what the character was supposed to look like at that moment. We got to draw it, but other than that, I really didn't know too much about it.
We're going to talk more about your career later on, but let's start with Niet Te Missen. And Niet Te Missen as a fluid Dutch understander. The Moet Je Hebbens, sorry.
Yeah, the
must-haves of next week. And next week is kind of like a week.
Ooh, well, I haven't seen good for the wallet.
Good for the wallet, because this week is going to be huge. The first one is TVA. When I say TVA, you say?
Loki. Time.
Variant.
Authority.
Yeah, variance authority. Come on.
3 people.
Did you watch Loki? Did you like Loki?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, both seasons.
Are you looking forward to the new comic book series?
And again,
you can be honest.
No, Loki's not something I've read a tremendous amount of about as far as books, other than his kind of appearances within Thor.
Yeah, but it's not a Loki book. It's
not?
It's got a cover.
Oh, it's a TVA book.
Yeah, TVA book. It is the guy from TVA that played by the bartender from Cheers, Woody Harrelson. It got Gambit. It's got, I think, Enchantress. It's got Spider-Gwen. It's got another girl, another boy. It's got Peggy Carter, and the art on the looks pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the logo as well.
And I like the logo. Yeah. Catherine Blair.
Not somebody I'm familiar with.
That's the writer of Loki season 2. So it's Pepe Perez. So not Pepe, but Perez. Carnage and Spider-Woman. Art-wise, this could be really cool. And I'm going to check it out.
I'm going to check it out now that you show me.
Yeah, and the other one, and Medar is, watch Medar's face when I announce this one. Helverine, #1.
Oh, yeah, all right. Not for me, not for me.
No. Also not for me, but the first Helverine miniseries was kind of cool. It wasn't that like ground earth shattering, but it was kind of cool. I love the no, I won't spoil. I got some comments that I spoiled too much. This is Ben Percy, Raphael Lenko, and Kendrick Lim. And Raphael Lenko, if you read Star Wars Darth Vader, you probably know him. And it's just solid artist. It's not nothing like really big. But then again, I don't understand why Marvel and DC has to put out all kinds of variants of Batman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Superman.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. There's one book that is almost, when I read that it was coming out, I made a small jump for joy.
Okay.
And I know you're going to do it too, Ian, or not. It's Freddy the Fix, Carter Anderson, Mike Perkins.
Yeah, Mike Perkins.
Oh.
Freddy I was very fortunate. Mike came round to see me at Thought Bubble and showed me some preview pages and stuff, and it looks fantastic, and obviously it's Garth as well. So
yeah, great team.
And also the fun thing with Mike Perkins, it looks like he gets better with age.
Yeah. He's annoyingly talented.
I love this Batman First Night.
Very much so.
And I'm really looking forward to its and it's magazine size.
Oh yeah. Well, that's cool.
Cardstock cover, and it's about a fixer in Hollywood, and that's enough said. I want this book.
It's just a one-off at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
but the great thing with one-offs, if they get traction, and they will definitely get traction with Garth and Mike on the book, because it's great. Ian, what are your thoughts on the facsimile editions? Because I know you're a collector of old comics.
Yeah, I get it. There's kind of worth in it and so on, and it kind of, it's a potential for introducing people to things and older books and whatever. I personally don't touch them for the reason that you said. I kind of want the original book and what have you, but I think they're a good idea and whatever.
Cat attack, sorry.
That's okay.
Comic Talk starring, what's the name of the mud?
Blouse. This is the small one.
yeah, we got the big one over here, but he is well behaved when the boss does a comic podcast. This one is coming out.
Okay.
It's not the first appearance of Frogman, but the kid from Harry Osborn, right?
I don't know. You're the comic professor. It's 263, and I remember buying the Dutch version of this. Okay. So when I saw it, I got all nostalgic. The other one is coming out. We talked about it last week. My weird obsession, and I cannot explain it, with Christmas comics. Every year I buy the Christmas comics, and every year I'm disappointed by the Christmas comics.
There must be one Christmas comic that's all right each year, right?
There are a couple. I will talk about it next week when I read all the Christmas comics. And next week is also coming out Alligator Loki.
But of course,
it's a silly character for a silly comic, I guess. I hope.
An Alligator Loki Holiday Spectacular. No, sorry. It's from X-Men to Young Avengers. Everybody's joining in with this Infinity comic that they pushed on the paper and gonna sell it. Alicia Wong, she did a pretty cool thing with the Dr. Aphra.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So it's for the first time print. I'm gonna check it out. This one we got in the comic shop. We got a new term that was introduced when Absolute series come out, and those are FOMO books, the fear of missing out books. People who will actually line up behind you when you're sorting through the comic. Fuck off! It's just it's the most irritating thing ever. And every week since Absolute has got a FOMO book, and I think this is going to be the FOMO book of next week.
All right.
I don't understand the character, Gunslinger Spawn, and it's with Spawn. I try it it's the same with Batman and Superman. I try it, I do it for a couple of months, and I go like, but this one is interesting because, and let me check, Jim Palmiotti is writing it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
And that can be, and at New York Comic Con they shown some pages. Patrick Reynolds is doing the art, and I don't know who he is, but I'm gonna check it out. And the cool thing about this is not so cool thing about this. It's the first new series from the McFarlane universe that's got a price tag of $3.99.
Ooh.
Okay.
But are there more pages than usual?
Nope.
Or?
Nope, it doesn't look like it. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think all the books from the McFarlane universe, the Spawn universe, are $2.99.
Yeah,
and
I think so. Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably Palmiotti has to is being paid a lot of money. Challenges of the Unknown.
Okay.
Yeah. Old DC property.
What's your
old
reaction?
Well.
And I don't really know too much about them, other than kind of like it's an old Kirby thing.
Yeah.
I know nothing about them. Christopher Cantwell and Sean Isaacse. Don't know him. They're gonna relaunch Challenges of the Unknown. And we're both like, everybody is like that silent.
Yeah, we could hear the tumbleweed for a minute then.
It can be a lot of fun. It's a bit like Fantastic Four, if I'm correct.
Yeah, in like kind of Fantastic Four's original premise, where they were just a bunch of adventurers.
Yeah.
I might be wrong in saying, but it's kind of no powers involved or anything like that. It's just regular people.
Yeah. Regular people with extraordinary adventures.
Yeah.
The not so regular people we're going to talk about you now. Ian, you're a big Superman fan.
Yes, it has been known.
We're going to talk about your Superman obsession in a little bit. But first, next week, this one is going to come out. And I know a lot of people didn't order it. And they forgot to read the fine print, because the fine print is going to be one printing and then it's gone.
Okay. Oh.
The Superman 100 project. Okay.
I wasn't even aware of that.
No, a lot of people weren't aware of it. We ordered like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Oh.
It's the. Do you know the 100 project?
Yeah, because you bought me the Batman one.
Yeah. For Medar, 100 project is a charity thing from Comic Book Legal Defense Force funds.
Yeah.
They do. I actually bought 2 years ago at C2. I bought a 100 project view from the Turtles.
Yeah, with a lot of autographs. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of artists who drew blank variants, and they pop up here. This one is Charlie Adler, Alan Davis,
I spotted that already.
Kevin Eastman, Dan Jurgens, Frank Miller, Frank Quietly, and more.
Whoa, great lineup.
Oh, and I will surprise you, Jose Luis Casel Lopez. That's one of Ian's favorite.
But isn't this the ultimate FOMO book of the week then?
No.
Oh.
This is Dan Jurgens, Ed McGuinness, and lots of more. Special behind the scenes section. So making of. No, this is because it's not in continuity. It's not about Superman. It's just it's an art book.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be pretty cool. And when you buy it, you support the comic book legal
defense
funds.
Yeah.
Then, am I right in thinking then because those blank variants are drawn specifically for this book, so then those blank variants go up for auctions? Yeah.
Cool idea.
It's basically a very commercial museum guide that you get normally when you go to an auction.
Yeah.
But then again, for us normal people, it's really cool to have those things. And I'm definitely getting it. And I think I made Madar, you missed it too?
Yeah, I missed it too, and now I have to have it. So
yeah.
Here's hoping.
Well, you got somebody who works in the comic shop.
Thank you.
Hey guys, how was your week? How was your comic book reading week?
Slim, but slim but fine. I'll start off with the final issue of Mugshots.
Okay.
Oh, don't spoil. It's still
Okay.
on my reading pile.
I won't spoil it, but it's a for people who don't know, it's a great the best crime book, well, almost the best crime book of the year by Mad Cave, and it's done by Jordan Thomas, the writer, and Chris Matthews, the artist, and it's drawn like Parker by Darwin Cook.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about this book. No, thank you. The only thing I don't like about this book, it's so complex that when there's a month between, you have to go like, what was the story? Because you know the basic premise. Like a bad guy comes back to his hometown. His niece is kidnapped. Brighton Mafia. I'm absolutely blown away by it. But I'm looking for it. I got it on my reading pile. But then I go like, why bother? I need the trade paperback, and then I read it in one sitting.
The trade is coming in February, but I think also one of the problems with this book is I believe the release schedule is bi-monthly, so every 2 months there's one issue, and the issues are pretty thick. They're also priced $6, and I think maybe 60 pages.
48.
Oh. 48, so
48,
you get your money's worth in my opinion, and it's just beautiful to look at in my opinion. So yeah, I loved it, and it's a without spoiling, a cool conclusion to a very cool story.
Did you know about the book, Ian?
I didn't. This is the problem. You know me. I'm quite a mainstream kind of guy as far as my reading taste goes. So I must admit, I do tend to miss out on stuff like this a lot. I don't think I've even seen it on the shelves anywhere. Yeah.
No?
Could be. Yeah.
So, how does your weekly comic menu look like?
So, in the past few days, so I'm probably about 2 months behind on my reading pile.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. So I've just finished one run and into another run on Action Comics at the moment. So funnily enough, me reading Superman, who would have figured? But it's been really cool because it's been for where I was, it's the end of one short run, which was Gail Simone and Eddie Barrows. So one gorgeous creative team into another one. And it's a new storyline. That's a Phantom Zone storyline that I've just started reading, which is Mark Waid and drawn by Clayton Henry, if anybody knows that. It's just the art tends. I know we've spoken quite a bit about this before, and sort of the artwork tends to have a large effect on what I tend to read, unfortunately, in a way. So it's kind of I gravitate towards comics that tend to have a lot of art that I enjoy anyway. So I've been spoilt with Action Comics just lately, and the Eddie Barrows stuff, which is gorgeous and completely different then, but equally as gorgeous, Clayton Henry stuff.
What are your thoughts about Action Comics going out every week?
Yeah,
a lot of people in the comic store, they actually went like, huh? And it's a $5.99 book.
Yeah.
Every week, $5.99?
Every week, yeah. It tends $4.99, $5.99.
Yeah. So I mean, there's two storylines in there. Yeah, it's maybe a little pricey for a weekly book and what have you. I've been enjoying it, so it perhaps hasn't affected me too much, and as I say, I'm a little behind on the reading anyway, but I've got a stack of actions that are just like that as it is. But yeah, it's been genuinely good, and then I'm heading into sort of Ghost Machine territory after that, and reading Red Coat, and I'm just about to start reading Hyde Street.
I did. Hyde Street didn't do it for me.
Okay.
I love the art, but the story is like, I think Geiger is the it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the and Rook. It has like ups and downs, and like the art, but it's. I don't know. Mad Cave, I was really enthusiastic when they announced Mad Cave. And I love what Hitch is doing on Red Coat. But my problem with, and maybe I'm imagining this, you're the artist. Because Hitch is not an artist that can do a monthly book.
No,
and they superimpose panels that was.
I did wonder, because we're like, what? 8 issues or something into Red Coat at the moment, and he must have started sort of way in advance to be able to do every single one of those issues, because again, something we spoke about in when we were at Thought Bubble, the kind of what seemed to be disappeared second issue of Last Days of Lex Luthor. There's kind of what happened to that. But yet again, there's 8 issues of Red Coat out.
But he did Venom over at Marvel almost monthly.
It must be, with the exception of sort of the occasional fill-in issue, which pretty much, I mean, to be honest with you, that's a standard now. As far as Marvel and DC goes, you tend to get, as long as nothing's late or whatever, you tend to get 5 weeks to draw an issue now, and then that will be for a run of say 4 or 5 issues, and then they will plan in a fill-in artist for 1 or 2 issues to kind of bridge that gap, because obviously if you're spending 5 weeks on an issue, it's more than a month. So they tend to build into the schedule a fill-in artist for 1 or 2 issues. So somebody will draw, say, 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, have those fill in for a couple of issues, whilst somebody's then on to 8, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. But yeah, you're right. He must have done close to 20 issues of Venom.
Yeah, quite impressive. I didn't expect it, but he did.
I almost forget that he did Venom. Thanks for reminding me.
It's. I also wasn't a fan, but I did like his art.
Not the biggest fan of, but exactly that. I did buy all those issues because it was Brian Hitch drawing it. So.
Yeah. And all those Ghost Machine books, They look wonderful. They got
Yeah.
the cardstock covers. The printing is good. The inking is good. And last week, one of my what I read that week before was the Rockefellers.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And Rockefellers felt like if the Fantastic Four were created in this time, it would be Rockefellers. I really like that book.
Okay.
I read something that I actually sometimes I had to quit because this was so weird.
Ooh, oh cool. Yeah. Love that cover. Godzilla's Monster Theater, yeah.
Yeah, Masterpiece Theater featuring Time Machinist, The Great Gatsby, Sherlock Holmes. It's so weird. It's like Godzilla through the eyes of famous books. The Titanic, like the Titanic was not in collision with an ice, how do you call it?
An iceberg.
An iceberg, but it was Godzilla, according to Tom Scioli.
Oh,
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I enjoy stuff like that.
This is but this is weird. Like it's weird.
Oh, that's a great page.
And it's just like like the Golden Gate Bridge that is being destroyed.
With old vintage cars.
Yeah, and this one made me laugh.
See, that's what I was trying to figure out now. I'm trying to figure out how Godzilla works in The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, and well, it doesn't, but it does. And the strange thing, when you think the whole weirdness is there, and then all of a sudden Godzilla is popping up in London and destroying London, and Sherlock Holmes is trying to find out why. This book is so weird, but it's so cool. It's one of those books that people in 10 years will go like, oh, that was a cool book. That was so original. I'm partial to Scioli. I really liked his work on Kirby and Lee that he did, the autobios, but I love it when I think IDW just went like, go balls to the wall. Just do your weird thing. And he did. And he did. And after Godzilla -1, I really went Godzilla crazy. The Godzilla Skate series is wonderful.
Yeah.
And it is wonderful and cool. And this is not wonderful, but this is a hell of a read. It's I can recommend this to everybody.
Nice.
It's just one of those. It's one of those books. Then you kind of hope would get under people's noses, because it's not necessarily something that a huge number of people will be aware of.
Yeah.
And also with Godzilla is not the Turtles. Like the Turtles are really mainstream, and a lot of people go like Godzilla. I don't like monster books. I don't like the art. I don't like, and the die-hard Godzilla fans, they go like, why is this drawn like a child? It's why is this so simple? So it's a book that not a lot of, we ordered like 10. And I think I took one and we sold 2, 3. And Medar, I put one in Medar's stack.
Thank you.
And he paid it, and he didn't know it. I said, yeah, I definitely know you wanted to.
Yeah, I still haven't read it, but it's somewhere on my pile.
Yeah, but I can't wait to read it. It's weird, but it's fun weird.
Is it actually Ian's turn to talk about what he's read? Because
but Ian also did the Action Comics thing.
Of course. I'm sorry. Yeah, my turn. I've read Loving Ohio. It's a original graphic novel published by Dark Horse. And it's written by Matthew Ehrman and drawn by Sam Beck. People I haven't heard of before, but Matthew Ehrman did a Long Lost, a horror series, and Witchblood, which is a road trip fantasy. And he also did some work for Power Rangers comics and Dark Crystal comics. And Sam Beck, he did the fantasy trilogy Verse. I don't know, but but Laughing Ohio is
It's a comicology original.
not that I know of. No.
It's a Dark Horse book. I can see
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
I can see it on the spine.
Yeah, it is a Dark Horse original graphic novel, and it's about a group of teenagers, senior high schoolers, living in a very small town. One of their best friends committed suicide, so it's really dark. And one of the kids' parents is becoming a leader of a cult in this very small town, and all the kids really hate the town, trying to get out of the cult and trying to get out of the town. So it has it's a bit of a lot of drama, a little bit of horror even, and it's beautifully drawn and colored. It's probably incredibly dark, literally. But yeah, this was quite the trip, and there's even one time they go to a metal concert, and I looked up the band, and it's a real band, and the song playing in the comic is also a real song.
Oh, nice.
So I really love details like that. It is quite depressing, but it's also hopeful without spoiling anything. But I really found this to be quite a nice discovery, because I didn't know the makers. I got it from Sinterklaas, the Dutch Santa Claus, but I did put it on my list because I really like the cover and the description. So this was a good gamble. Yeah.
Ian, what did you read? I was actually going to recommend another Dark Horse book.
Okay.
So it's an easy access thing actually, because it's only a 4-issue miniseries called Patra, as in the shortened version of Cleopatra.
Oh,
it's a young girl's name. So it's a 4-issue. I guess you'd call it like a horror series. But it's kind of like supernatural and serial killers and all the good stuff. But it's from James Robinson and artist Scott Collins. So they used to, people will mostly know them from working on The Flash together in sort of the early 2000s, I guess. And that's like Scott's usual kind of strength and what he's usually known for. I think he's like superhero stuff, but it's quite dark and violent and nasty. And so, but as I say, it's just like this 4-issue and done miniseries from Dark Horse. And Patra is the central character. She's just a young, I think, girl. I think she's like 10 years old. And I won't spoil too much about it, other than to say there's this supernatural serial killer that kills her family, and how she navigates that and sort of takes her revenge as such.
That sounds really interesting.
And I think you'd like the art style actually. Scott Collins stuff is usually quite sort of exaggerated superhero stuff, without being typical superhero artwork. But this is good stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I say it's James Robinson writing it as well. So hopefully you'll get like a volume 2 to it.
And it was original, because Dark Horse is Dark Horse does a lot of comicology reprints, duck and cover.
No, it's a brand new original creator-owned thing.
I could not help myself. I bought it.
Oh, really?
The hype book, yeah.
It's from Mr. Al Ewing. Everybody who ever met Al Ewing gets that joke. That's the way he talks, like his baritone, really broke-like thing. I did not like it much.
I was going to say, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I think this is typical Marvel and DC fair. It's
Right.
like introducing a new character, and just like hyping it up, like this is gonna be a new Venom, and it's Luke Cage, Robbie Robertson,
Jones.
Rick Jones, or Madam Mask,
Yeah.
and then the book is about who is it,
Mm.
and I would like, no, I want to know who is the new Venom. That could be really original. I thought it was the art is okay. It's
I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
like standard Marvel fare and standard DC fare, and it's not a bad book. And it's got a switch on. It's got a in the end. There is a character that you don't expect showing up. That I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
was a little bit far-fetched. And then it's the last page is a reveal that you go like, really? I want to know who is the new Venom, but I have to read like 4 issues of this. And this is not. I like
was-
Ewing.
That
I
was
like
just what
Ewing's
I was
writing.
going to ask. Is
Yeah.
do you get to find out who
No.
the new Venom is?
I like Ewing's writing, but this is not the way L normally writes. He is like the strange, quirky things put into mainstream, and this is just like a mainstream Marvel book. And I liked it. Not that much. That's, you see what I did there. It's just it was just a funny book to read, but to spend $5 in it, this is the book that I would go like, nah, don't bother. If
So
you
will
really
you be
want to
there for
know,
issue 2?
you know me.
Yes, you will.
Yes, I will. But then again,
you do
but
it
then
for
again,
us.
the great thing is I work in a comic shop, so 1 day a week, so it's pretty easy. And I think on this one, I will, when Charles is getting new comics, I will sit down and read it. What I did read, one of my best comics of the year that I raved about, like 4 months ago. I did not read issue 2 and issue 3, and I thought I read them, but I was going to my dad, and he lives 1.5 hours from Amsterdam, so I have to go by train. So I was taking up my comics, and then I saw Spectrograph.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
And I did. I also got issue 1 out, and I thought it was a 3-parter, but it's a 4-parter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, this I actually gifted Ian the book at the beginning of the year. Like, you have to read this, and he went back to me like, meh.
No,
But
really?
I really there was a client, a new client, a customer in CIA, and she asked me to recommend her some books. And what I always do, I ask her, what kind of movies do you like? What kind of TV show do you like? What kind of music do you like? And then you can cobble up something. And then she started asking, what do you think makes a good comic book? And nowadays, with all the miniseries, especially for miniseries, for me, can this be an HBO series, like an event series? And 7 times out of 10, no, it can't. It can have comic books that had a brilliant start, but fizzle out through the end. What I liked about Spectrograph, it grabbed me by the balls. Sorry, I don't know, and it didn't let go until the end. I thought the storytelling was original. The way those characters are portrayed, like very human, and it's about it's about ghosts, and I loved it. Can't
And
wait.
beautiful art as well.
Yeah, Christian Ward. But then again, Christian Ward is like you like it or you love it. Oh, sorry, you like it or you hate it. You love it or you hate it. You like it or you love it. Because there doesn't seem to be a middle. Like, he's okay. I really like him, and all the color explosions in these books.
It's insane. But Ian, I'm really curious why you didn't like it, because I also love this series. It's one of the highlights of the year for me, as well as Jeroen. So
I think it goes back to kind of something I mentioned earlier. The artwork tends to have a huge bearing on whether I kind of really invest in a book and stuff. And I must admit, just like Euron was just saying, I tend to fall into the latter character with Christian Ward's art, and it's not really for me. So I kind of think, for me personally, if I'm not getting the artwork, it tends to take me out of the story as far as reading it goes. And I think that's genuinely what happened for me and stuff. It's because I didn't invest in the artwork so much. It kind of takes me out of the actual story itself.
Okay, can imagine. Yeah.
And the great thing is you got it gifted, so it's
Yeah.
not like you. No,
Yeah.
it's
Who doesn't like free shit?
But I noticed something after Thought Bubble. I really am a big fan of James Tynion.
Okay.
And all the other stuff he did, I liked him. But the things he's doing with Department of Truth, with Spectrograph, with lots of books, I really love his take on horror. It's always original and always surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something you can say a lot these days, is
No.
it? There's not a tremendous amount of stuff that surprises you.
And that's a great bridge to the one you read last week.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I thought after Absolute Power, the Absolute Power issue, we're going to talk about Wonder Woman. The Absolute Power issue of Wonder Woman, I really hate. I thought this would suck, and this is going to be the end of my run in Wonder Woman. Luckily, I started to, and the last two issues has been like.
So that's interesting, you see, when we talk about my delay of reading, that's just where I'm up to. The next
Okay.
The next issue that I've got to read is the Absolute Power issue.
Yeah, it didn't, but Absolute Power as a crossover didn't do it for me. So
it was, it just felt like a pretty much non-event kind of thing to me. There was
it's something
in it.
that the DC editors, this is cool, this is really cool. You were like, oh, not really. Yeah, this is cool. This is so important. And
there wasn't anything important. There's no real. It didn't. At least it didn't feel like to me there was no real status quo change. There's no.
Same old.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I tend to buy a lot of DC books these days. I think I would say probably 75-25% wise. DC over sort of Marvel and other stuff. But yeah, I don't, like Tom King's writing, I've always enjoyed that, and I think he writes a really good Diana. It kind of it really gets it, and Daniel Sampere, his artworks tend to become a bit of a favourite over at DC these days, it seems to be, and he draws a really good Diana as well. I think I always remember there's something I posted years ago now that I'd done a commission of Wonder Woman for somebody, and I just was trying to highlight the point of how difficult it is to make her look like a powerful character, but still, without being obvious about it, still make her look like an attractive character.
Feminine.
And I think Mr. Sampere does that very well. Actually, it's been thoroughly enjoyable.
And also what Tom King is doing, you said before, I really love, because Wonder Woman's one of those characters. It did never like. Okay, she is the sweetie of. Of it did not invent me. Even the George Perez things, I drew one of the gods, and I tried to read it, but I thought it was too mythologies. It was too much.
I do kind of enjoy that. So I kind of enjoyed that, going from that kind of early Wonder Woman stuff with the mythology stuff, because then at the same time it kind of linked in with the stuff that he was doing with Marv Wolfman for the new Teen Titans stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed that. But yeah, it's kind of how to write a strong female character.
Yeah.
I think he's done a very good job of it, actually, and has kind of not make it a throwaway character, not just a token woman in the
distress.
The token female character out of the DC's Trinity. If you it's been an interesting read. It's been I found it an interesting story, even if you take Wonder Woman out as a character. It's the kind of find yourself hating Sarge Steele and stuff, which have previously been, for want of a better description, an other heroic DC character. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it from both point of views, from both the writing and the artwork.
Well, the last two issues after the Absolute are just magnificent.
Yes, so I'm just trying to think. So I've got
16 and 17.
Okay. Maybe not even that far along. So is the Absolute Power issue like 13 or 14, something like that?
14 and 15,
and then, I think. Because I know the last one I've got here to read is issue 15.
You got some really cool things and ahead of you. And Tom King said actually he got like 100 issue stories.
Oh, really?
Wonder Woman. Yeah, so he's gonna be there for the long run.
Oh,
then again, he did that for Batman. And then some power play happened, or Rika Jenkins Batman.
Yeah.
And again, I think he is the best Batman writer of this modern age.
Yeah.
The issue he did with Superman and Lois Lane and Batman and Selena Cat when they went to the carnival. I thought that was so good. Yeah. And he does something like that in the last issue of Wonder Woman. I'm trying not to spoil, but there is the same cadence.
Okay.
It's really good. And again, talking about bridges, there is one book. It's for me the book of the week.
Okay.
And it's also a King book. And this is so strange. I'm not a DC guy, but after the Absolute, I started to try, and this is the fourth DC book that I really, really loved. The Question I really loved here before. This is Black Canary.
Oh, yeah.
I've just bought it, but I haven't read it yet.
This is such a cool book.
Ryan Sook.
But I know the Ryan Sook, like he was really dark, like
a lot of heavy shadows,
like Mignola shadows. But this one, it looks like what's the guy I'm blanking on? The one who does Geiger?
Gary Frank,
but more delicate.
Yes, I tell you where.
I see what you mean.
I know where you're going, right? Yeah. So that looks like if you had a mashup between Gary Frank and Adam Hughes.
Yeah, and a little Cho.
Yeah, Frank Cho.
Frank Cho.
Yeah.
But it's this book, and I can totally understand why people hate King.
Really?
Because his way of telling a story is not like chronologically, like not A B C D. He goes A Z K N D.
Yes, so sometimes you kind of have to work a little.
Yeah, you have to think.
Yeah,
and this book
Heaven
actually,
forbid.
Yeah. But this book actually made me like, okay, and I don't know Black Canary. I know she is the girlfriend of Ollie, the Green Arrow. Is it Green Arrow guy?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really wonderful if you got the capability, if you open the book and at first the art, it's just like, it's wow. I'm going to spoil a little bit, and that's the opening. The opening looks like this, and I'm a sucker for this.
Yeah. Round one.
It's just like, it's
good design.
Yeah, it's design, it's great, and you go like, and then all of a sudden you go like this. There is this girl traveling home, and I thought I didn't know Black Canary, so I don't know. Dina is her name, I think. Dinah?
Dinah.
Yeah. And I actually had to do Google what her superpowers was.
Yes, it's Sonic Scream, right?
Yeah.
Siren.
But this book, I can recommend to everybody. They're sold out, may I?
Yeah, but I'm waiting for the deluxe edition of all 12 issues. So
this is going to be 12 issues.
Yeah, I believe so. So
yeah, it's I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Cool. Good to hear.
That's and also I'm gonna steal you one. I also read this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flash
That looks
Gordon
like a
as
lot of fun.
Francis.
Flash Gordon.
That looks
Art
like
Baldassar
the
and
best
Franco.
book of the week.
Yeah.
No, but it's just a little fun read. And the great thing what Mad Cave is doing with Flash Gordon, they got the official series that is really for the Flash Gordon fans, like the Alec Raymond, really the Flash superhero stuff. And now you got Flash Gordon Adventures for kids, and also for grown men who still believe that they're kids. I really like this. But I thought it was, it jumped immediately back in my eye. Ian,
yes,
we're going to talk about you.
Really?
Yeah, after 162 episodes, and we talked about it a long time. Why don't you come along? We should do something together.
We did.
And then all of a sudden, the world woke up last month, 2 months ago, with it's kind of shocking. I'm going to quit comics. Luckily you gave me a heads up. Otherwise I was like, huh? Like talking about like going out of left hook, like bang. It was, and the reactions of everybody was basically like, what?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, but it was a little. Yeah, I think we spoke a little bit when I last saw you. A little bit taken back from it. It's a kind of weird thing. It's perhaps not the best analogy, but it struck me as a little bit like a funeral kind of thing. And in as much as, you see your friends all the time.
Yeah.
And stuff. And you just interact normally with your friends all the time until they're not there anymore. And then it's you have this big outpouring of emotion and stuff at a funeral. And that was it. And I think I kind of got used to the idea of people having me around all the time from a work point of view, from an art point of view, and then me saying, well, I won't be doing this on a regular basis anymore. It was that kind of funeral effect of realizing that people would actually miss me not being around.
Yeah, but you are a fixture of a lot of British Comic Cons.
Apparently, yes.
And we're going to talk about your work in a little while, but I'm always amazed at how much, if you compare it to other artists, you got your own little fan club, and those are not so little. When we see each other at cons, you always put my jacket and my bag under your table, so that's great. Thank you for it. We're gonna miss that the most. But it's no, sorry. No, but then I'm amazed at the people who come by. They come by every time. Yeah, you got your own little fan club. One of the most important things, and Medar asked it already. Why, Ian? Why?
Yeah.
It's a personal thing, just a family thing. So my father hasn't been so well in the last couple of years and stuff. And so having them live with me now and trying to look after my parents and meet sort of monthly and weekly deadlines, it's not happening. It's not one's not conducive to the other. So whilst it's a decision that's still in my hands, that I can kind of take a step back and go, yeah, I shouldn't really be doing this anymore. But I don't want to be that guy that's late all the time, and you end up in a vicious circle of being late and hating the fact that you're late, and then hating the work that you do because you're hating the fact that you're late, and so on and so forth. And it becomes like a snowball effect. So whilst it's still all in my own hands and I can make a decision for myself, I'd rather say, yeah, that's it for me now. And whilst I can financially manage it as well.
Yeah, a very noble decision. Yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah, I think it is. I was actually hoping for a different answer, that you would go to Hollywood as a big director or something.
Ian is a musician, so he's going to be the guitar player of the Digital Kiss. That would make his head explode.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, that would happen. So no, I'll be doing some of that. I've said for the last couple of years I need to finish writing and recording an album, so I'll be doing some more of that stuff, because I can kind of do that on my own sort of time frame and stuff. I'll probably still be scribbling the odd bits and pieces every now and again, but as far as monthly deadlines goes and published books, that's it for me, or at least when I've finished this final 2000 AD story anyway.
Yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, but I was not the only one who did the wishful thinking, because a very famous artist came by and he actually said what I thought. I think it's a temporary thing if you got all the stuff sorted out, because I said it in the podcast, I said it to your face, it's not to suck up. You're one of those artists who are waiting to be discovered. His Superman, go out and check his Superman. It's amazing.
I very nearly wore my Superman on the t-shirt for tonight's show. I should have done.
But it's just like you're an artist. You're a sequential superhero artist.
Yeah.
If you 100%. Go on his Instagram page, and his Instagram page is
Ian art_ Ian Richardson, something like that. I'm trying.
We're gonna.
I don't have to put it in myself, so I don't know what it is.
No, but we got marketing wise, man. No, we're gonna put a link out, and I copied some sketches, your morning doodles, your ink morning doodles. That I put it on the announcement this morning on the Facebook page. Your superheroes are powerful, feminine, not over the top, not the big boobs, big guns, and your superhero stuff. Your Batman is creepy, and your Superman is just like Superman should be, like heroic. And if you can get that in a single image, in a single panel, it's just like, so wishful thinking. I think if in a couple of years that itch will burn.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll see. I've said through the whole thing, I'd never say never. It's not where my head's at with things at the moment.
No, of course not.
But I will say never. And there's some stuff I've got to finish off. As I say, I've got this 2000 AD thing. So, but the whole
and some blank variants.
Just one or two. You thought you'd mention it. I have one or two copies of the new art book to send out as well.
Hey, no, but Ian, let's talk about funny things. And I want to close this because that's the elephant in the room. If Sean Connery can come back to James Bond in 20 years, you can come back to the drawing table. And I get that one because you say never say never.
Sorry. Well done. See what you did there.
It was
That's like completely off the cuff as well and not planned or anything.
No,
I'm impressed.
Like everything here. It's so. No, it's Ian. You are. We've known each other for quite some time, and what I like about you as a comic artist, I already said, but you're a genuinely cool guy. You take time for everybody on the cons. When you do a sketch art, it's not like there you go. You just put yourself out there, and that's why you got a lot of fans. Also in the Netherlands, you got a couple of fans who are really who are watching this or listening to this go like, oh my God. You're also a really big comic book lover and collector.
Yeah.
So how is your next Comic-Con that you're not going to be as an artist, but as a visitor? I hope you won't have to pay.
No.
You got some friends around somewhere? Otherwise, give me a call. We will arrange something like a special Comic Talk and L reporter.
Yeah. Do you not know who I am? I know you're Ron, for crying out loud.
No.
He said I can get it. Well, no, funnily enough, I'm expecting my next con visit to probably be your next con visit. Well, no, actually,
Lawless?
you might watch. Yeah, and it will probably be Lawless in
Ooh.
May and stuff. So I'll probably be hanging out there, and I will expect to see you there.
Yeah, hopefully, if Saskia finds it all right. Saskia gave me an okay. Now, Lawless is. I described it earlier. This is not really a Comic-Con. It's a gathering of friends and nerds.
Yeah, it's a community thing more than anything else, and I get that it's based around 2000 AD and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of expanded a little bit from there to kind of British comics in general and what have you. But it's just really accessible for everybody for kind of both sides of the table, if you like.
Yeah, it's one of those cons when you compare cons, and you've been to cons way more than me, especially in Europe. What do you think are the difference between cons like Lawless or cons like in Malta? And you got like the MCM, the bigger Comic Cons that are noticeably more focused on Funko Pops and B actors. I said it.
Don't forget the cosplayers.
And no, cosplays is fun.
Yeah,
it needs to be more cosplay.
It is. I think it is that. I think it's the focus, and as kind of what there's as we're using. Say Lawless as an example. People, it's perhaps it's a more narrow focus, and I have found this over the last few years of cons and stuff. If it's a show that's a more narrow focus, and yes, I might be a little biased for shows that are just about comics and what have you, it becomes a more personal thing and that community thing, and people are more invested in what they've spent their ticket money to go and see and whatever. I've found those certainly more enjoyable and more successful from a, not necessarily from a financial point of view, but from an interaction point of view. I think some of the bigger shows, you can kind of get a little lost in them. Just even from the point of view, say you mentioned like an MCM show. Both the London shows, and we have an MCM show in Birmingham here as well. It's just a crowd. You don't get to do much because you spend the day shuffling around in this mass of people without necessarily being able to stop and enjoy and see anything. It just becomes like this big monster thing. I mean, I don't know how you think about it, for instance, when you look at something like Lawless compared to, say, in New York.
Yeah, those are incomparable.
Yeah,
but it's just like New York. It's great to talk about the people you already know and they say hi. And Lawless, Thought Bubble, shows like this, and probably Malta also.
Yeah,
it's a great way to meet new artists and to make connections and just to have fun. I remember my first con I went to, foreign con, was with Michiel in Bristol when it was still in the
railway shed.
Yeah. And I'm blanking on the name, but I was talking to a guy that was really famous, famous, still is. I'm blanking on the name. And we had a conversation of 15 minutes. And we were just talking about stuff. And when the bigger the con, that's not going to happen.
It's harder to do stuff like that, isn't it?
And last month on Thought Bubble, I had this guy who drew a Magnum comic, and he was friends.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he was friends with Sean Phillips.
Mm.
And Sean Phillips came by and gave the guy a thing, and we started talking. Just like when you see somebody in a pub, you start talking, and there is this common thing that the love of comics, and especially on smaller cons, that's the most wonderful thing it is. And also, I think it's really cool. I've become not like you, but I've become a staple of several cons too. And you get recognized, not like Jeroen, you're from Comic Talk. Hey, you're the Dutch guy. And yeah, that's that's really cool. It feels like a community.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The other thing that
it is very much along the lines of you've very kindly said nice things about me. Like I'll have people that come back and see time and time again, because it's not coming back to see me necessarily to buy books or what have you, but it's the experience. It's the experience of that interaction with the creator that you found that you particularly enjoy their work, or you enjoy them as a person, and you struggle to have those experiences at bigger shows. And I personally find, I mean, I've done countless numbers of San Diego's and what have you, and it's a different experience, and it's an experience to be able to do on its own. But I don't think you can have those personal experiences at shows like that.
Going back to the personal things, I already know your answer, but I think it's the most funniest thing. You actually told this to another guy, and I was sitting next to it, and I used it. I don't know where I used it, but I used it before, not a Comic Talk. You're the people who come to you with a blank page or a blank variant, very huge. What's the strangest thing people ever ask you to draw? And Meida will get a kick out of this if you tell the right story.
If I tell the right story.
No flex.
Is it one character riding something else?
No, it's somebody that was on the toilet, an artwork that was put in the toilet of the bar.
Oh, that's not a blank variant. That's
there was big artwork.
Yeah, it's a big, huge A3 piece. Two of them.
Yep.
So weird stuff. I'll add to it then. Blank variant stuff. The strangest one at a convention is Aquaman riding a panda.
That doesn't make any sense. Aquaman, panda.
It had no bearing whatsoever.
No.
I literally had a couple come to my table and have a conversation between themselves over this. They got a bag full of blank variants, and they were going through and saying, "Oh, what haven't we had yet? We haven't had an Aquaman yet." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I'll draw an Aquaman." Yeah, okay. And so they carry on talking between themselves. What about Aquaman riding a panda? We haven't had that. Really? You haven't had that? That's a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Ian, was that in Amsterdam?
No, it was in London. Yeah, but haven't I told you about that couple that they came back the next day to pick it up?
No.
And how they were dressed. So it was a husband and wife. So they dropped the blank variant off on Friday. I always ask the question, how long are you here for? So when do you need it for? Yep. They were here for 2 days. They came back to collect it on the Saturday morning. And then I saw them walking up to the table from a distance. And the wife on the Saturday was then dressed at the Harley Quinn leather costume from the Batman Arkham games.
Right.
Whilst holding a chain that was round a collar that was round a husband's neck. And he was dressed as slave Leia.
What?
Oh my God.
and he was a very, very hairy man.
Well, okay, this is a weird story. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so that's so then your own one.
But then you think, is this gonna be weirder? I said, Ian, double down.
So I get an email out the blue. The guy must have found me online and stuff, and said, asked if I had any restrictions on the kind of thing I'd draw. I said, not really, as long as it's, you know, respectful of stuff. Did I have a problem with nudity? Not particularly, no. Male nudity? No, that's fine. Would I draw a naked Hulk fighting a naked thing in the shower? And that's anatomically correct. So then, yes. So I did that for him. As I say, nice big A3 piece. I sent that off to him in the States. He had that framed. It's in his bathroom.
Oh.
He sent me a photograph once it was framed and up on the bathroom wall. that was followed by a second piece.
Oh, I didn't expect that. Okay. A complimentary piece.
Yeah, to a certain degree. A very similar subject matter. There was an old Rob Liefeld book from early Image days called Brigade.
Yeah.
A couple of characters. Oh, actually, Brigade. One character for that, and one character from Youngblood. Badrock.
Yeah.
Huge kind of like concrete version of the Thing. Yeah. And a character from Brigade, I think it was, called Troll.
Oh yeah.
Which was like a really like a diminutive, an even smaller version of Wolverine.
Yeah, with grey hair.
Yeah, this is kind of that same kind of exaggerated Wolverine haircut. These guys, this was a sequential page. So these guys it was a locker room scene.
Okay.
There was a certain amount of comparison going on, shall we say. Badrock won.
Yeah, but he has quite a big advantage because he's already 3 meters high, right? So...
Yes, he did have quite a big advantage. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't had so much weird stuff lately, then.
Oh man,
you know, fanboys. What can I say?
Ian, if you do art, like bizarre art or normal art, do you scan it or do you? Because
yes.
Do you still have everything?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Why isn't that in your art book then?
It's a very good reason for that. This is just, people don't need to see these things.
No,
actually, do you know the genuine reason for that is they're quite old pieces and nothing at all to do with the subject matter. I'm just not a fan of the artwork because I think the artwork could be better.
Okay.
So it's nothing to do with the subject matter whatsoever. It's just me going, I could do a much better job of that these days. And
maybe you should call him.
No, I'm good, thank you.
I've got a question. Since you're quitting comics for now, what are the works you're looking back at with great pride that you're like, whoa, that's like one of my best accomplishments? It can be a cover, interior work, commission.
Usually bits and pieces of it. It's the same thing that comes out of like you're on saying like my stuff is like good superhero stuff. So the stuff that I really tend to be proud of is bits and pieces that come out of different jobs from a fanboy point of view. So I draw good superheroes because I'm a fanboy. And it's the stuff I like. That's why that stuff works for me. So I'm very proud of the fact that my first ever professional work was for 2000 AD.
Oh, yeah.
I'm proud of the fact that I've got to draw Judge Dredd quite a few times over the years, even though I still don't think I've quite got it right. I think there are some people that might disagree.
But what part do you think you don't get right of Judge Dredd then?
The thing, because a lot of 2000 AD, I think, has got a very a British viewpoint for it, and a very British artistic style to it,
Mm-hmm.
and mine isn't. My style's firmly rooted in American comics,
Okay.
and I think that the kind of traditional view on a lot of 2000 AD stuff is a very British point of view, both from the writing and the artwork styles. I don't think my stuff necessarily fits so well with that, despite the fact that Dredd's supposed to be an American character, but yeah, that's me. I think most of the stuff I'm used to is seeing it in that kind of very British vein, which I don't think is something that sits very naturally with me.
Okay, let me get back to that.
Yeah.
Two things, Ian. We had this conversation in Harrogate.
Mm-hmm.
It's about artists being always their own worst critic.
Absolutely.
I can say as a fanboy, as a really big fanboy of American comics, but also a really big fanboy of Judge Dredd in 2000 AD. I think 2000 AD, why I love your Dredd, and why I love the Dredd of something like Steve Austin. It's not the per se British Judge Dredd, and it's more. And I think what I like about 2000 AD is that it's like a kindergarten for all kinds of style. Like you can play around with everything, and I think your Judge Dredd will stand up to any other Judge Dredd that is that's being around. So I really don't. And you're an artist, and you don't have that. You're not the only one who had that problem.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
you always have. It's always like it's not my best work.
Mm-hmm.
You do stuff in a couple of in 15 minutes that other artists when you look at the output that is going in Marvel and DC, like the low wages countries we call them, like they're not. Those are the artists that can say, yeah, well, I've drawn Spider-Man, but it's not my finest work.
Yeah, we noticed.
And I'm the owner of something that is my favorite work of Ian Richardson, and I'm going to share it. And this has got, when people, I will build up the anticipation. When people ask me, why do you collect blank variants? And then I will always say, like, yeah, it's blank variants. I really don't mind what people draw in it. For me, it's a timestamp. It's because I know I got like 150 blank variants. Excuse me. I know where every blank variant on which con it was drawn, the conversation I had with the artist, and the feeling I had with the artist. So that's why I collect blank variants. Stan Lee died in 2018, and like yeah, you know what's coming.
I know what it is.
Like everybody else, I was just like, whoa, this is an end of an era. That's the first in my generation. That was the first time, and especially with my hobbies, that was an end of generation. Like Elvis Presley would have died, like John Lennon would have died for musical. With Stan Lee, I went like, whoa. And what Ian did every morning, he did his morning routine, and he made quick sketches. And then he drew one, posted on the internet, and I sent him a message. I said, dude, I don't know how much, but I want this one.
Yeah.
And in 2022, I got a package, found it, and it's this one. And this is from the guy who says he's not good enough.
Oh, it's Peter Parker revealing his identity as Spider-Man. Yeah,
and crying.
yeah.
I think this is, yeah, this is one of my, and I have like in the back, I got personal signed when I did an interview with Anthony Daniels from C3PO. I got like some really small other pieces, but this one is going to be signed, going to be framed.
But
And
how long did you take drawing that, Ian?
I don't know, maybe half an hour.
Oh, that's nice.
See, that's strange. I don't know whether we ever spoken about this, and I'm not somebody who gets terribly bothered about sort of celebrities and stuff passing on and whatever. It doesn't tend to affect me so much. You always see whenever there's an announcement in the news that certain celebrities pass on, there will be this huge outpouring of everybody on social media going, "Oh, rest in peace," and so on and so forth. I've never been that kind of person. It's never really bothered me. I can only recall in the last few years 2 that ever bothered me, and one was Stan, which is why I did that, and the other was Carrie Fisher.
That's a
when
big
Carrie
deal.
Fisher died.
Yeah.
And I just think because those 2 things kind of like, it's kind of like Marvel as a kid had always meant that much to me. It was that kind of thing of, oh, this is me. I get this. This is what I want. And then kind of Star Wars being the same thing and stuff. So that your own had there was just because that was one of the very, very few things that somebody kind of passed on bothered me.
And I think the moment Carrie Fisher died, and especially the day before that, George Michael died, and that was the closest I got in being depressed. I think I'm not the kind of guy who got depressed, but I felt really low, which is strange because I didn't know. I didn't know him personally. But
No,
I knew
exactly.
That is no, but this is one of my, and I got like tons, not tons, but I got like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blank variants for you, and I really love them, especially the Conan that you did. But this is one of the few art. Normally, when I get art, I give it to Giel because he's really into art collecting. And this one is going to be framed and going to be hanged up.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's talk about your 2000 AD work. And this is going to be a big episode once again.
Yeah.
Normally we're down in an hour, and last week we got an hour and a half, and I think we're going to do a bigger one. This one, but I think it's interesting. Let's talk about your 2000 AD work. When you compare it to your American comic work or your other comic work, what's the main difference?
I think I have to work harder at the 2000 AD stuff. Usually because it's not something that is immediately a natural thing for me. Like we've said so far, superhero stuff, that's me. That kind of comes out. And I think whilst people would kind of almost put the 2000 AD stuff in the same vein sometimes, because it's kind of like adventure stuff and sci-fi stuff, I do have to work harder at it sometimes. And then going back to what I said, I'm very aware that it's a different thing, and also really kind of a short space of time to tell a story.
Yeah, 6 pages.
Yeah. So you get like, even like 5 pages at a time, which is kind of like, here we go, like preview stuff. Ta-da!
Oh, well, it's a really big format as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So like 2000 AD is a slightly weird format. It's not regular American comic size stuff, and so I draw everything at 1.5 times size. I'm still like this old school guy who pen and paper on board. But yeah, so those are like 5 pages at the moment, like 3 parts and 5 pages each. It can be quite restrictive. It's not fair to it, but you've kind of got to. There's a lot of story to fit in a small space sometimes. So I'm not the world's biggest fan of 7, 8, and 9 panel pages because it's more work. But I try and find some joy in whatever I'm doing. You know, it's just kind of at the end of the day, you're kind of going, this is pretty fucking cool. You know, I'm not stuck in an office in a suit. I just get to sit on my ass scribbling cool stuff all day.
Do the deadlines differ from the American market and the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 2000 AD stuff is really generous as far as the deadlines go. I think that's mainly, I have to give kudos to the editor for that. Just for the fact that it's so well planned. I mean, it has to be, in as much as he's corralling every week. You've got 4 different stories, 4 different creative teams, plus a monthly Judge Dredd magazine as well, that's got more original work, plus interviews and stuff as well. So I think they're a lot more forgiving and a lot longer range deadlines than American work is. Which, when you actually look back at it and go, oh, well, this is a weekly schedule, they don't necessarily match up, but I think it's just kind of so well planned and whatever in advance that they're a lot more forgiving.
Oh, nice.
And you still work the old school way, pen, paper, ink.
Yeah.
Why
Cool.
didn't you make the jump like lots of artists do to digital? Because it's
kind of like a practical reason and an aesthetical reason at the same time. I still like the feel of working like this. I still like the feel of at the end of the day, even when I'm working on board like this, as soon as I've finished it, it's still got to be scanned in and still uploaded from that point of view. I still like the feel of it. I'm still used to it. There's still a certain amount of kind of what I'm used to and certain effects I know that I can get out of, like a lot of dry brushing stuff that's easy for me to do because I'm working on the board that I choose with the pens I choose. And also from a practical point of view, I'd be stupid not to, because it's another third of my revenue stream on top of this, because people still want to buy those original pages and still want to buy the originals. So I know for a fact the minute I finish this story, I won't have any problem selling these pages whatsoever, and then I'd be cutting my nose off to spite my own face if I just went completely digital. It's interesting, actually. I just a little story for you, that another reason for staying old school, I kind of lose a little bit of the benefit from not going digital from a speed point of view. It would be a lot quicker if I did everything digitally. But I always remember Jorge Jimenez. So most people know him from being a current Batman artist and stuff. So he was a guest at a London show at the LFCC show a few years back. And I always remember seeing him on the first day he was there, first thing in the morning, sat at the table. And I can't remember, I was walking past for some reason, and he didn't look comfortable in the slightest. And I was kind of going, are you okay? Is everything all right? It's kind of, and his English at the time was pretty terrible, and he knew stuff, and he just went scared. Scared of what? Scared of the fact that he had to draw something on a piece of paper in front of him instead of working digitally that he did all the time, just because he was so out of practice for it. And there's no there's no Control Z when you sit with a piece of paper in front of you.
Yeah.
And he was not relishing the fact that he got to draw with pens and paper all weekend. I mean, it's really annoying that I walked past him again 2 hours later and he'd drawn this gorgeous Batman. But apart from that, when he was sat there in the first instance and about to work, he was just almost terrified of the fact.
Huh.
I want to close out this interview with, I know you're a big collector. You're a big art collector. You're a big comic collector. Take us through your comic collection and your art collection. What are the artists? What are the things you go like, yeah, if something happens, this would be the first one, the first box I take.
You can't see, it's like up on the wall. The first box I would take would be all my Avengers run, my Avengers Volume 1 run. That I have the whole thing apart from 2 issues, which is just frustrating me because obviously they're expensive issues now. But I will get there at some point. Yeah, there's like, you can't really see other than comics kind of sitting over there in the corner there. I'm like surrounded by long boxes in my little studio here. So as it stands at the moment, not including graphics, the collection stands at about 8,000 comics.
Nice.
Artwork wise, as Euron knows me very well, as there's Jose Luis Garcia Lopez pages framed up on the wall. There's Ivan Rice Superman pages. I got some John Byrne She-Hulk stuff that isn't framed. And Neil Adams' Cyberrad page. There used to be this, he used to have his continuity studios.
Oh, yeah.
So in the 90s, he used to put out this small run of books that were all his own. So it's kind of like almost pre-image stuff, called Continuity Studios. And he used to do about like 3 or 4 different titles. So I've got a Neil Adams page from that, from a book he used to do called Cyberrad. My Alan Davis Captain America, my Kevin Nolan Batman. Just 1 or 2 bits and pieces. Yeah.
Oh, sounds good.
Do you have any funny stories when you? Because I know a funny story, but I don't know.
The Garcia Louis.
Yeah.
That's not a funny story you wrote. That makes me cry.
Come on, I think it will make you cry, but it's also a really funny story.
Just so I'm a huge Jose Luis Garcia Lopez fan. So a lot of people will kind of know from like DC merchandise. Like if you tend to own some DC merch, you've got like a Garcia Lopez drawn thing, but also like DC Comics presents Superman stuff, just Elseworlds Batman stuff over the years, with the exception of a few early Charlton comic stuff. The guys only ever worked for DC Comics. So a friend of mine a few years back was helping Howard Chaykin out at conventions. And she lived in Los Angeles, and we just happened to be messaging the one day. And she was helping Mr. Chaykin out at a show that weekend. So we were just talking about that. And I asked her what the show was and who were the guests. And so she sent me a link to the convention website. So I was looking down the list, and it's, oh my God, Garcia Lopez is a guest there. So I say to her, I've always wanted something of his. I didn't own some pages at the time. And she very kindly offered and said, well, do you want me to go and see if he's doing sketches and stuff. I said, yes, please, of course. Just find out how much first. You know, this is like a high profile guy as far as I'm concerned, and whatever. So she did, and then like during the day on Saturday, I get this message that says 11-inch by 17-inch bust sketch in pencil is $100. So I'm like, what's your PayPal? I'm sending you the money right now. Sending the money. What do you want? Can I have a dead man sketch, please? Because he did this Dead Man mini-series in the late 80s. Great. Fantastic. Saturday evening, my time, I get this ping of messages and I just open it up and it's just this picture of Mr. Garcia Lopez holding the commission he did, personalized to me, and it's a picture of him with the art.
No.
I'm so pleased. So pleased. So my friend Sparrow messaged me back at the end of the day, do you want me to post it? Do you want me to stick it in the mail to you? No, hang on to it if you will. Just bring it with you next time you come over to the UK. Great, that's fine. A few weeks later, she messaged me saying, oh, look, a friend of mine is coming over to London in the summer and he's going to the same convention that you're a guest at. Do you want me to give him the artwork? He'll bring it with you. He'll drop it to you at the show. That would be great. He's not interested in comics. He's just going to see the actors at the show. That's fine. Yeah, great. So summer comes. I'm a guest at the show. The show finishes. The show goes past. The guy never shows. I didn't say anything for a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks later, she messaged me, said, did you get your artwork okay? I said, no, the guy never showed. Right, okay. She's not happy, disappears, goes to call the guy, and the guy apparently said, oh yeah, I lost it.
Lost it?
Just didn't mention anything. Just went, oh, I lost it, yeah. She went nuts at him.
Understandably, yeah.
Just sent me the $100 back straight away, but I didn't care. I didn't want the money. I wanted the artwork.
Yeah.
So it's never been seen anywhere. Every now and again, I will check comic art fans and eBay and like, so I know exactly what it looks like. I've got a picture of it, and it's dedicated to me on the side, but I've never seen it anywhere.
Whoa.
We're still of all of the opinion that the guy owns it. The guy has it somewhere in his house, and he kept it.
This is your white whale.
Yeah, absolutely. It drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Just so much so, Euron and I had a similar conversation earlier in the year when he was in Chicago to see if he could get exactly the same thing done for me. Because Garcia Lopez was a guest there, but he wasn't doing sketches under the same principle this time, was he? So missed out. I will get something like that.
It was actually not the story.
Oh, really?
I thought
okay.
This was also a new one for me.
Oh.
But it's, you know what my first thought was?
No.
The guy has a kid, put the artwork somewhere, and the kid was like, "Oh, a coloring thing. Let me color." Yeah. And he was.
You know what? Possibly that had never occurred to me.
No. But you met Garcia Lopez once?
No, never met him. No, never met him.
Okay. Yet. Well, the guy's pretty old, so.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything. The only thing he does is the occasional convention and stuff. Yeah. I'm in touch.
Does a lot for the Heroes
Initiative. Yeah.
And then that's why I get the Batman 100 book for you.
Yeah.
And he signs it, and you have to pay a minimum of $10 to $15, and he will sign it for free. So it's a noble thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and I've got that. It's all bagged and boarded carefully away from my usual long boxes.
But let's end this small interview with a positive and a fun story, because you must have had some fun stories on, and it can be anything. It can be on Strange Fans. You already delighted us with Slave Leia, Harry Slave Leia.
Yeah.
So it's try to top that, going out on a high note, and not going out because we get a second part after this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't think of any just general
But don't you have
repeatable nice one.
My comic highlight is that I once get Stan Lee a cup of coffee,
Right.
because
That's-
I was introduced, and then he said he wanted a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and I was like, and the girl at that said, go. So I got
not such a weird things like little 10-second anecdotes, like being helped off a convention bus by Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
It's just it was the weirdest thing. So John Rhys Davies, the actor who played Gimli, who's like the guy's
And Salah.
80-year-old.
yeah.
And we used to we'd have, as the guests, we'd have a bus that take us backwards and forwards between the convention and the hotel. And the one Saturday we were returning back to the hotel, at the end of the day, he'd got off the bus and literally waited to help every other person off the bus. And I'm like, you're twice my age, but you're waiting to help every other person off of the bus.
Wow. Cool.
a question popped into my mind when you were telling this story. You know a lot of people. You introduced me to a lot of famous artists. How do you look at your person? Because you got a couple of friends that are artists. I think it's very hard when I really like somebody.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to be a critic. There is this American artist I'm not gonna name, but no. But I really like the guy.
Right.
I think its art is never, and whenever I've seen him, and when you do the math, you can draw the line.
I'm already there.
I saw him in Chicago. I saw him in New York, and he's really incredibly nice guy. Always very polite. Always genuinely happy to see me. And always asking me, how do you like the book? And I said, yeah, fine. Yes, sure. Yeah, it's fine. And I think it's fine. But I don't have what I have with other guys. I was like, whoa. So how do you combine friendship or kinship with the art? Is there a correlation or not? Am I the only one who has that problem?
No, I think it genuinely. So I think I kind of I managed to separate it between the two. If we become good friends and I genuinely like the person, then I'll look at it like that. You're just a friend, and we don't tend to talk about artwork that much. We'll talk about like other people's stuff and stuff that we like, but don't tend to go. I'll avoid conversations about their artwork, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely struggling to find anybody that I can think of that I have that kind of relationship with. And perhaps like I'll have friendly relationships with a colleague that will, how to explain this, if they work in a different sort of comics that I don't necessarily have an affinity for. It's like I don't necessarily dislike their artwork or whatever. It's just not my thing. Like, for instance, you were showing us that Godzilla book.
Yeah.
I have friends in the industry who work in quite a similar style to that. I don't dislike that style. I just don't necessarily have an affinity for it. But we still get on on a kind of personal level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
It does.
Yeah.
Other than that, if I really don't like their artwork, then I don't have anything to do with them.
Right.
Well, Ian, thank you so much for this interview.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Comic Talk now is not over yet because we have a hidden gem, and you kindly volunteered to present us with a hidden gem. So
I did.
me and Maydar don't know what it is, so surprise us.
I'm going to give you two, actually.
Wow.
All right.
I'm going to go one with a link to conversations that we've already had, and I will go. There's it's kind of late 80s, early 90s 4-issue miniseries from Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and writer Jerry Conway. So lots of people kind of think of both of those as kind of like superhero artists and whatever, but they did this 4-issue miniseries called Cinder and Ash. That is just wonderful. It's just it's a thriller. It's kind of almost like a political edge to it to a certain degree. But kind of almost, I guess in like a modern vein, you might compare it to like a Reacher or something like that. But if you think about some of the Reacher stories and then think of how the Cinder and Ash story goes, but it's down to two characters, Cinder and Ash, funnily, but they're kind of like private detectives to a certain degree, and I can't recommend it enough.
And they got a great backstory.
Yeah,
he's a Vietnam veteran, and he adopted her, Vietnamese girl with red hair.
Cool.
It's one of the. It was my introduction to Garcia Lopez, and I finally got last year. I got the trade paperback.
Yeah,
and because it was published in the Netherlands as part of a pulp magazine, 4 issues where they got the Blackhawks in it, other stuff, and I didn't care about it, but I love Cinder and Ash. You never heard of Cinder and Ash, Maynard?
Yeah, vaguely, but never read it. So
next time you're here,
it's kind of like almost pre-Vertigo book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it has this incredible edge.
Yeah,
and it feels dark. It's political. It's very, what I said in the beginning. It's an HBO series waiting to happen.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
very much so. And I own 3 copies of it.
Oh wow!
Well, yeah, I had my original 4-issue miniseries that is somewhat tattered now because it's been read a lot, and then I got the 4 issues again, and then Jerome bought me a copy as well, trade paperback. So yeah, I have three copies of it.
Yeah, I saw it, and then I went like, yes, I know somebody next to me who would really get a kick out of this. It's an incredible book, Maynard. I will find out where it is in my Explosion comics. It's also very good because I read it 2 years ago, and it still stands. And it's
very much so.
Oh, that's impressive. Yeah,
there's no dating. It's kind of around the same time period as Dark Knight and Watchmen, and it's that kind of period of comics.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for the hidden gem, Ian.
So second gem then, it comes out from another kind of favorite of mine, and I would offer John Byrne's Next Men.
I know of it, but I've never read it.
It's kind of I guess around the same time period, to be honest with you.
Is it a Dark Horse Next Man?
Yes,
or the one before?
Dark Horse Legend, right?
Yeah.
So, well, it came out as originally just a regular monthly Dark Horse books. So there's like 30 issues of it. Very, very adult stuff, but still kind of superheroes and superpowers stuff, but about a bunch of kids that were kind of experimented on by a clandestine government agency, written by John Byrne and drawn by John Byrne. but also kind of very realistic in as much as the portrayal of the kids' powers and stuff. So, for instance, there's a young kid whose powers are like very speed related in the way like Flash is, but because he runs and because he's got his speed, his like legs are huge.
Oh, yeah.
But he's still like this little kid. And there's one of the girls. She has like no sensation, like her skin's as hard as steel and stuff. So her emotions are kind of reflected in there as well, and she's kind of like she's very cold and stuff because she cannot feel anything. It's very adult stuff, a very kind of adult portrayal of sex and stuff. Again, political and stuff because the clandestine government agency and whatever. But it's great. So there's like 30 issues of it from Dark Horse. Then it took a break for a while, and IDW put a follow up from it. But I think that maybe only lasted like half a dozen issues or something like that. And then
wasn't the gimmick that was black and white?
Oh.
There is some black and white stuff in it,
Yeah.
like for an issue, and also like issue 21 is the first color appearance of Hellboy.
Yeah.
So that's like, from a comic collector point of view, that's like, that's an expensive book.
Yeah.
And also, if you kind of really want to delve into it, all that sort of Next Men stuff. And obviously, people were kind of like making X-Men comparisons to it. Because this guy that does look very much like Scott Summers, Cyclops kind of thing.
Okay.
But if you really want to delve into it, all of it actually came out of a previous standalone graphic novel of John Burns called 2112.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with the Rush album or anything like that.
No, but it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's great stuff. It's probably adult comics, but you've still got that kind of adventure-y superhero angle to it as well.
And never released as a companion or a hardback. Or...
Yeah, I think you can get trades for it. Yeah,
trades, but it's pretty.
Oh no, not one big whole thing for like 30 issues wise.
And has it ever been rounded up, or is it left with a dangling cliffhanger?
Do you know what? That's a good question. The 30 issues Dark Horse were left as a cliffhanger, but I never got to read the IDW ones that followed it up with that. So I can't say how the IDW issues finished. So I'm going to have to go and find those now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Medar. He will send you.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, he will send you an invoice. No, it's what I always think with Byrne, and why Next Man didn't do it for me. I fell in love with Byrne. A lot of people fell in love with Byrne and his X-Men, and I fell in love with his Superman. I think it's still the best origin story of Superman, rounded universe building.
And also the best version of Lex Luthor.
Yeah, with the red hair and the curly. I really love them. And after that, I discovered him on X-Men, and I really, really liked that. And then Next Man came around, and Next Man had Monkey Man and O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yes.
It had Frank Miller stuff.
Sin City. Yeah.
It had Will's Portaccio, I think, something another. But it had lots. And at first, I went like, John Byrne. Yeah, that's my Superman. And then I got an X-Men for more adults. That was my thinking at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing a trade paperback and it's pretty hard to get all the trade paperbacks, but I tried.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, it's been out of print for such a long time.
Oh, a real hidden gem.
A real hidden gem.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, thank you so much for being our guest for the last.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
And we're gonna be seeing you soon. I know it. I know, but I think after a couple of cons, you go like,
Oh,
strangely enough, I think the cons part of it will be the thing I'll miss less, or at least the work part of cons.
yeah, the work part. Yeah, sure.
oh, yeah.
The great thing is, normally Ian, we started a thing at Thought Bubble 3 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That we always at the first day of Thought Bubble, we always go to an Indian place in Harrogate.
Yeah.
And if you want to tag along. We had podcasters, we had other artists. We had it's just a fun thing. The cool thing is we get more time to spend together and shoot the shit about comics. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Good luck with
you.
all the things you're doing, and hopefully it all works out. Then we do the thing I normally do in Dutch, but I have to do it in English now.
Yeah, let's practice.
Don't forget to follow us, all our new listeners who made it to the end from the UK. The next podcast will be in Dutch. Sorry, it's a wonderful language. You should try to do something. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and even met our thing TikTok.
Yeah,
and YouTube.
Yeah,
got a lot of stuff happening over there.
In English sometimes. So yeah,
and English sometimes. So check it out. Leave a review.
like, subscribe,
or
share with your friends.
Yeah, that was one I was looking for. It's great for our algorithm. And one thing I wanted to ask, we have not got a lot of response on the question to send in your best of top 10 or top 5 of 2024. So the next couple of days you're going to be haunted on your social medias. Send it in. We cannot do it without you guys. The deadline for it is next Thursday.
All right.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And if not, we got a lot of things to do. We're going to do something really special. Proud sponsor of Comic Talk NL since the beginning, 162 episodes in. CIA, Comics Talk, Comics Import Amsterdam. Man,
yeah, that's my part.
Yeah, that's your part. It left my mouth, and then I went like, shit, that's made up. Proud sponsors since episode 1.
CIA, Comics Import Amsterdam. That's the best shop of the whole world if you like comics, and you do because you're listening to us. There you will find the comics we've spoken of, and probably a lot of Next Man and Cinder and Ash. I had to look it up. And of course the Moet Je Hebbens, the must-haves of next week. And also great, how do you say, personal... clerk, best clerk.
Clerks, not a clerk. People who work in the store, they're really nice. They called Jeroen, and they called Ray, and they called Charles. Charles is the one with the big beard. Jeroen is the one with the glasses, the big guy, and Ray is the millennial who's really cool.
Yeah. Yes.
You've actually been to CIA.
I have both. I know only one now, but
yeah, there is only one now. We did a signing, but before this going out for 2.5 hours,
Thank you.
Musical intro and outro and all the things in between by our maestro Jouk Vis. Thank you so much. We're gonna see each other on the flip side. That is next Wednesday. Then the new Comic Talk is coming out. We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know how to top this one, but I know one thing for sure: it's not gonna go over an hour. Let's just make that clear. Because
that's a promise.
Yeah, because 2 days later, we're gonna have a party in my place, and everybody from Comic Talk now is ringing out the year with the best comics, the best things, the nicest things. We're gonna look back. Maybe we look a little bit forward. Then you have to wait a week without Comic Talk NL between Christmas and New Year. And at the beginning of the year, we are already there with a new format, and hope to see you soon. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure.